Hello there. It's a 49ers Super Bowl report here from Las Vegas in my beautiful studio setup. The mic, the ring light, the good camera, which happens to be my iPhone, have all made it here to the desert, which is not really a desert right now because I think it's still raining outside. But starting tomorrow, it's going to be sunshine for the rest of our time here in Las Vegas. And that's significant news for the 49ers because they actually have to practice outside here. You remember Sodgate from yesterday. We talked about it a lot. The 49ers are set to practice at UNLV tomorrow on Wednesday. Thursday still TBD, but last that I heard, there was a lean for them to try to figure out a time to practice outside of the Chiefs hours at the Raiders facility just because Thursday is going to be a more full speed practice for the 49ers, and they don't like the turf. We already talked about this. This was the story of the day on Monday. They think it's too soft for a full speed session at UNLV, although they have said that it is getting better because they just laid the sod on top of the artificial turf last week at UNLV. So I guess every single day it firms up a little bit. But I just don't know if the 49ers are going to be comfortable with how firm it gets by Thursday, which is when their full speed session is. But last that we heard, they're planning on practicing at UNLV Wednesday. If anything changes there, then I'll definitely let you know. But today was essentially a 49ers players day off. It's Tuesday, just like the normal Tuesday would be on a Sunday game schedule. So they had a media session because it's Super Bowl week, so they didn't have it fully off, but they had a media session for a select group of 10 players and for Kyle Shanahan at the Lake Hotel lobby. To give you a little bit of a peek into that, here is a look at how crowded it was as the players went to their respective podiums. What's going on?
Playing this game, playing the sport, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's easy to get wrapped up in.
And we very appropriately finish with Brock Purdy, surrounded by that absolute crowd of reporters. This right here was before Brock Purdy even showed up to his podium. This was minutes before. It was a long time before he even showed up. There was a very, very big crowd of cameras waiting to speak to Brock Purdy. I don't even understand the point of being in the fifth row behind four other rows of reporters, because at that point you can't see anything. You might be able to hear it because each one of the podiums in that hotel conference area has a big speaker, so whatever the player's saying into the mic is broadcast over that speaker. So maybe you can hear if you're part of that horde, but asking a question, not easy. So my strategy today was to just go around to the podiums that had the fewest reporters, and ended up being a good strategy. I got to talk to Jake Brendel. I got to talk to Deommodore Lenoir. I got to talk to Chase Young. Reporters cleared out of that one fairly early on in the process. I got to talk to, there was one more, Tashawn Gibson. Tashawn Gibson was a really good interview today for the 49ers. Did you know that Tashawn Gibson actually intercepted Patrick Mahomes back in 2018? That was Mahomes' first year starting. He was a rookie in 2017, sat behind Alex Smith in 2018. Tashawn Gibson said that Patrick Mahomes gave him a gift. He said it was gift wrapped. It was one of those interceptions that Tashawn Gibson dreams of being able to pick up again. And that's going to be coming up on Sunday. Tashawn Gibson is the 49ers' 33-year-old safety who's made so many big plays over the past two seasons. John Lynch, when I asked him about Gibson the other day, said that he's just stopped expecting Gibson to fall off at some point due to age. I think the 49ers signed him last season, then the preseason when Jimmy Ward was hurt with the hamstring. And John Lynch said, okay, this is going to be a stopgap measure. Hopefully Jimmy's back soon. I don't expect Deshaun Gibson to have much left in the tank. He pleasantly surprised the 49ers, and he not only surprised them for a short period of time, he surprised them over the long haul for a very, very long NFL season and then they re-signed him into 2023. Deshaun Gibson hasn't slowed down this year either. So now the 33-year-old is in his first Super Bowl. He's joined by another 33-year-old who joined the 49ers about 2 months ago now, and Logan Ryan, who's actually won 2 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. Logan Ryan and Gibson might be the same age, but obviously one of them has had more fortune as far as being able to play in games this big. So Gibson and Logan Ryan have had a lot of big-time conversations here over their experiences about what this means to them over the course of the past few weeks. And especially those conversations have picked up in intensity as the ultimate goal, as the Super Bowl has drawn closer. I'm going to open it up to questions a little bit earlier today, and then I'm going to go back and forth with some questions and some of my thoughts. Maybe we could even do a 49ers roster update to look at the depth chart here to really reset things before this heads into overdrive. The media party is tonight at the Super Bowl. A lot of people, a lot of players' family members will show up tomorrow. And then it truly gets real as Sunday approaches. So there you go. Here's a look at the 49ers depth chart. And I will open this up to some questions. 49ers Q&A. The floor is officially yours. Dan asks, does the team seem focused? I think so. I think they seem really focused. There was a couple times today, and I mean, they're not trying to hide this, where the 49ers players, I think Diamaro Lenore said it once. I think Chase Young said it once. When he says, when we win on Sunday. They use the whole when we win. I look at it like boxing. I look at it like a fight. I look at confidence as being something important. I look at mentality being something that's important. The brain leads the body. The 49ers are expecting to win this football game. They're not expecting it to be handed to them, but they're expecting that that they realize that they're very good. They're expecting that they're going to be able to execute the task at hand and win on Sunday. So in that way, I think that they're focused. You cannot enter a football game not confident and then expect to win. You've got to be confident. And I think that I see the 49ers talking that way and carrying themselves that way right now. Spencer Coakley says it's manifestation. That's exactly what I think that the 49ers are up to right now. They want to manifest a victory in this game, and you manifest losing if that's what your approach is going to be. You're going out there and playing one of the most physically demanding sports in the world. You have to sell out physically to play this game. Mind leads the body. Well, if mind leads the body and you have to sell out to play in the Super Bowl when the other team is very experienced at winning these types of games, you better have a lot of belief in yourself, because otherwise you're going to get run over. So I think that's what the 49ers are approaching this with from a mentality standpoint. Dan says, such a legacy game for this squad. Yeah, I mean, any Super Bowl is a legacy game, right? Because anytime you take the field in a Super Bowl, you have a chance to win the Lombardi Trophy, and winning the Lombardi Trophy, that's a legacy moment. So the 2019 Super Bowl was a legacy game, but I get it. You're saying that there's probably more downside this time, and I would agree, because it's no longer the new kids on the block, right? The 49ers are established. George Kittle and company, those guys have been here for several years. There are players who weren't on the 2019 team who are big-time stars, like Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey, who are playing their first Super Bowl. And you realize that windows in the NFL are of finite length. The team could stay good for longer. The New England Patriots were contenders for 20 years, but very few players are going to have 20-year careers. So the window for Trent Williams is not going to be 20 more years. He's got a few more years at most to try to win a championship. Christian McCaffrey's 27, but he's not going to play for 20 more years. He'll be 47 in 20 years. So he's got to try to seize the opportunity for a championship. Steve Young talked to the 49ers team, I believe, before they left here to Las Vegas. And his main message was, this is the type of opportunity that you really need to seize. Because so many people think that once a team makes it to the Super Bowl, it's easy to make it back. Teams like the 49ers, who have made it back now twice over the past 4 years, and the Chiefs, who seem to be going every single season or close to it, teams like that are the exception and not the norm. It is not normal to be on a team that returns to the Super Bowl. Go back, especially one that loses. Go back and look at history. Teams that have lost the Super Bowl have really struggled to get back there. The 2012 49ers lost the Super Bowl. They didn't get back there. That iteration of the 49ers didn't get back there. They lost to Seattle in the next season's NFC Championship game. And then that dynasty, it wasn't a dynasty, but that era of 49ers football came crashing down. So it's one of those things where, you say legacy game, and you say you have the opportunity to win a Lombardi trophy and really make a name for yourself in eternity. That's all great, but there's also downside here, and I think that's what really makes it a legacy game. The downside is losing a Super Bowl and then facing longer odds to get back, just because of how exhausting it is to reach this point. So there are big, big chips pushed into the middle of the table right now for the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are still planning to practice at UNLV tomorrow. They feel that the field is firming up as time goes by ever so slightly. They are not happy about it, but the latest update is, and I conveyed this yesterday, is the 49ers have made a collective decision, and this has started at the top with ownership to management. They made a collective decision to play the cards that they've been dealt. That doesn't mean that they've been dealt good cards, but you also just can't exchange your cards without a penalty in this case, right? You probably can't exchange them at all. The 49ers have decided that even though they're not happy with the field, they're going to have to proceed with what's planned right now. Tomorrow, they're not even going full speed. It's more of a walkthrough session anyway, so that playing on the softer field is acceptable. Thursday, they might be able to tinker with the times and practice at the Raiders facility, which the Chiefs are using. Is this fair? Absolutely not. I mean, this is an issue I think that the Super Bowl will hopefully look to have a better grasp of in future years. It's one of the biggest sporting events in the world, and I think it is important to get both teams onto an acceptable field. When one of the fields is rated in the 70s as far as the firmness score goes, and the other field is rated under 50 or in the low 50s as the 49ers field is rated as far as firmness score goes, it's not equitable. It's not fair. I get it. But at a certain point, you've got to be practical if you're the 49ers. And one of their options was to fly back to the Bay Area, but I believe it's still raining there through Wednesday, right? Maybe today, maybe onto tomorrow. So that field's going to be wet in Santa Clara. That's not ideal either. They're going to be playing on presumably a dry field inside at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday. So they most closely want to replicate that in practice. Plus, going back to Santa Clara would necessitate flying back to Las Vegas. Even if it's a short flight, there is some fatigue that would be generated just by doing that. And obviously, the NFL would probably absolutely pull its hair out because they have a whole week of big money stuff planned here, and the 49ers didn't follow that. Well, there'd probably be some hell to pay for them on that end as well. But anyway, the 49ers have decided that they're going to use this as a motivational tool. And this is a good organizational strategy, using this purely as motivation, especially from the players, from the coaches. You can't make this something bigger than it is. And it could be huge, right? It could be huge, but you can't turn this into a distraction from your preparation. I think realizing that, because the message from ownership is going to get down to the whole team. So if ownership keeps on fighting this battle over the field, even with no guaranteed end in sight, the problem would have been that the 49ers would have risked this becoming a true distraction to them on the front of preparation, and then obviously once it came to playing the game on Sunday. They didn't want this to bleed through past today, past yesterday, even into the practice week on Wednesday. So they decided, and I think they very smartly decided, that the proper play is to use this purely for motivation, and they will practice at UNLV tomorrow. If they can get to that better practice field at the Raiders facility in Henderson, where the Chiefs don't want to move their practice time, but the 49ers can move their schedule around in an adequate fashion in a way that doesn't compromise some of the treatment that the players are getting, some of the other stuff they have to get done, maybe we see the 49ers practice at the Raiders facility on Thursday. But tomorrow, expected to be at UNLV. All right, let's go back to the 49ers roster, depth chart, whatever you want to call it, and I'll also go back to some more questions. We have a question here. Does Vegas have any AI taxis? No, I think the only two cities in America that have the driverless cars are San Francisco and Phoenix/Scottsdale, Arizona, as of right now. How does Charvarius Ward feel about playing against his former team, Kansas City, this time around? Charvarius Ward yesterday said that he thinks everything about the 49ers team and the building is better. He enjoys playing for the 49ers more than the Chiefs. Maybe he just said that because he's with the 49ers, but he seemed legitimately happy at Super Bowl opening night. We have a Chiefs fan right here that says he wants me to tell him that the Chiefs are going to lose. I don't know. I haven't made my prediction yet. Chiefs fan here, I don't blame him. I don't blame Marcus Wyatt, this Chiefs fan. But Chiefs fan, if you're watching, I give my prediction on the Saturday before Sunday games. So the day before the game. I will give my will the 49ers beat the Chiefs video on Friday and then a score prediction on Saturday. So you can tune back in at that time. Eric Gomes wants to get up to 70,000 subscribers. All I know is that we need to be above 66,666 before game day, or that's just a bad sign for everybody involved. 49ers, Chiefs, NFL, you name it. Joe Thuney, the Chiefs starting left guard, a Pro Bowl left guard, is probably not going to play. Andy Reid today said that it'd be a long shot. So Nick Allegretti is the backup. He played well in pass protection on Sunday after we saw Thuney with the pectoral injury, but he was not a great in run blocking. I liked when I watched the tape of Kansas City. I've liked Allegretti a lot more in pass protection than run blocking, and we know that running the ball is an important part of Kansas City's game, especially this year with Isaiah Pacheco. I think the bottom line is that Joe Thuney is a really, really good player. One of the better guards in this league. And if he's not going to play, and it seems like he's on that doubtful track right now, that's a leg up for the 49ers on the interior. Remember that both of these teams have lost defensive ends as well. Charles Omenihu, former 49er, tore his ACL for the Chiefs. That hurts their edge rush, which hadn't been very good. And the 49ers have lost Cleveland Farrell, former Raider, who obviously played on the field at Allegiant Stadium where the Super Bowl is going to be on Sunday. He was a big piece for the 49ers against the run. So I think you have two defensive lines who aren't their full strength selves. And you also have an offensive line in the Chiefs regard here that isn't going to be its full strength self if Joe Thuney cannot play. Smash that like button, says Mike. We got Raider Ryan shouting out to somebody that he knows that is a Niner fan that probably is watching. Chuck asks, Jair Brown or Logan Ryan for this Sunday's game? I would think Jair Brown, but boy, Logan Ryan, even if he doesn't start, was very needed in an NFC Championship game. I think because Jair Brown is going to play safety, that's going to be a spot, he starts. But Logan Ryan, he's played corner before. He's played nickel before in his career. He's obviously played safety, and he played both nickel and safety for the 49ers over the course of the NFC playoffs. that is a Swiss Army knife that you do not mind coming off the bench. So I think that you'd rather have Jair Brown start and Logan Ryan be the Swiss Army knife coming off the bench. I mean, his knowledge of what the Lions were running last week in a pinch, his knowledge of the 49ers coverage combinations, he ran a beautiful disguise, like a really, really nice disguise on that fourth down that completely set the table for the 49ers to shut the door on Detroit. Christopher Lockwood thinks the 49ers defense matches up really, really well with Kansas City's offense. I mean, it's hard to match up well against Patrick Mahomes because he's such a good quarterback. It's like it's really hard to match up with Brock Purdy because he's such a good all-around quarterback. But um, I mean, if you're talking about specific matchup strengths and weaknesses, I think the 49ers have a better pass rush than Kansas City has offensive line. Kansas City has a really good pass block win rate this year, but they've also held a lot at the tackle positions. And so that's why the officiating is important in this game. So the 49ers have been lobbying for some more holding calls. That's why Nick Bosa has pointed out that the Chiefs tackles hold a lot, because that could be an area where the 49ers have a big advantage, but the officials are probably going to have to throw some penalty flags for that to be the case. So yeah, that could be a good matchup. Others, you're saying with the Chiefs offense. So I'm trying to think of the other matchups. Well, yeah, the Chiefs don't have a great receiving core, and the 49ers have a good secondary. So that's a good matchup for San Francisco. Then, but you look at covering Travis Kelce. I don't know if that's a good matchup for any defense in the league, right? Because Travis Kelce is such a good player with how he improvises, how he can find open space that is kind of off the cuff. It's not going to be easy to match up against. So yeah, the Chiefs just don't have an overpowering offense in terms of explosiveness this year. That went out the window once Tyreek Hill left. They're number 24 in explosive play rate, but they can still hurt you. They can still run the ball effectively if you're not on your P's and Q's. So I'd be wary about saying, oh, this is a great matchup for the 49ers defense, because they haven't been world beaters over the course of the past few weeks. What are some differences between this team's attitude against the team in Super Bowl 54? I don't think there's much of a difference in attitude. I think that Kyle Shanahan has fostered a very positive culture, a very confident, positive culture throughout his entire tenure. So 2019, 2023 teams both have it. I think this team has more star power, though. This team has Christian McCaffrey. Enough said there. This team has Trent Williams. Joe Staley was a star too, but this team has Trent Williams now as well. This team has Brock Purdy. I mean, yeah, you look at up and down at this roster, the 49ers are really damn impressive, and I just think they have more firepower than they did in 2019. Bill's been waiting 29 years for a sixth Super Bowl. Tyler says the 49ers should run McCaffrey and Debo because the Chiefs' run defense is horrible. Number 27 DVOA. So you're correct. I think the way to beat Chris Jones is to run right at him. Chris Jones might be the best interior pass rusher in football. It's a question between him and Donald. Aaron Donald obviously is really good too. But you guess what the way to handle Aaron Donald is? You run straight at him. That's why the 49ers have had so much success against the Rams. Chris Jones, I think legit, I think he's worse than Aaron Donald against the run. There are plays where he doesn't look good against the run. So I do think that running straight at him is a good neutralizing tactic. I think that the Chiefs are going to Spagnuolo is going to do this for sure. He brings a lot of run blitzes. The Chiefs will gamble a lot defensively so that the 49ers don't run all the time, which then brings it back to Brock Purdy. He's going to have to pass to set up the run. This had to happen throughout the entire playoffs. It's had to happen throughout the entire year. This goes back to Jimmy Garoppolo, too. And both of the quarterbacks, the last two starters for the 49ers, have done a good job of this. You have to pass to set up the run because teams are going to say, hey, you guys, you're known for just pounding the rock at a higher rate than almost any other NFL team. We're going to stack the box. Stacking the box against the 49ers is a very logical thing to do because the last thing you want to do in the NFL is lose on the ground because there is no coming back from losing on the ground. Another team can just run all the way up and down the field on you like the Niners did to the Packers or like the Lions were doing to the Niners in the first half of the NFC Championship game. Team does that, and I'm talking about Niners to the Packers in 2019. Team runs that effectively on you, you have no chance. So it's better to at least make a team throw, to take a little bit more of a risk. And you do that by stacking the box. And a lot of teams stack the box against the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey's faced one of the highest stacked box rates in football. And when that happens, the pressure's on the QB to make the throws. Yeah, there's an easy way to tell whether the 49ers are probably going to be passing or running. And all just watch the safeties. And I get it, on TV, you sometimes can't see the safeties. But if you have access to an all 22 like angle, watch if there are two safeties high. The 49ers are probably going to pass. But if one of those safeties come down, the 49ers are probably going to, well, if they're two safeties high, the 49ers are probably going to run. Sorry, I misspoke. But one of those safeties comes down, the 49ers are probably going to pass. David C. The last time Kansas City and San Francisco played in the Super Bowl, the Niners held KC to 10 points for 50 minutes. After recovering at KC, it wasn't a fumble. It was a Mahomes interception. It was Tarvarius Moore. After a Tarvarius Moore interception, the Niners defense ran to the end zone and posed. After that, Kansas City scored. Well, a lot had to happen. Jimmy Garoppolo took a helmet-to-helmet hit. It's an important part of that game because I think he was like 19 of 21 before taking the helmet-to-helmet hit. The 49, he took that hit on the drive after that interception, which forced a 3-and-out. No penalty was called. 49ers punted. Then the Tyreek Hill 3rd and 16 or 3rd and 15 play happened. And on that play, the 49ers busted a coverage. Hill caught the ball. A few plays later, Kansas City scored. 49ers got the ball back, and they stalled again. So then Kansas City took the ball, and they scored again. They were up 24-20. And then the 49ers were unable. The third straight drive came up empty for San Francisco. I think Garoppolo was something like 19 of 21 before the helmet-to-helmet hit, and then he finished like 1 of 7. So there was I think there was a clear delineating point in that game. And a lot of people will say it was the Tyreek Hill catch. A lot of people will say that it was, that 49ers interception. Something happened after that. I tend to think it was, I think the 49ers, that hit completely stalled their offense. It was on 3rd down too. So they had a punt right after it. And then that led into a cascading effect that included the Tyreek Hill play. Basically, every part of the 49ers operation was at least partially responsible for the collapse against Kansas City down the stretch. We have somebody that's most worried about Ambry Thomas and Jake Moody. Well, the Chiefs will try to pick on Thomas. The thing is, they don't have a great wide receiver core. So the 49ers may actually have a good matchup in that regard. I also wonder if somebody like Isaiah Oliver may play a little bit in this game to work against Travis Kelce. Oliver against Kelce, that could be a good way to bring some more size and agility to that very important matchup. How can you say that Armstead is washed when he's literally delivering like 5 pressures a game? I think he had exactly 5. Delivered 5 pressures a game, 5 pressures in the NFC Championship game. That's more than 95% of NFL players will average per game. So that was really good. See a lot of chuck and pray for a flag against Thomas at some points in the game. That's definitely how Jordan Love was approaching it. And it's an issue if it starts working. That's what teams did for a long stretch of the 2021 season against the 49ers, really up until Ambry Thomas started playing a little bit better toward the end. So if you have a cornerback that's a true weak link that can't avoid penalties, opposing offenses are going to target him. That's absolutely a good point. But I think the 49ers, Thomas was playing at a much higher level than he did against the Packers before he broke his hand. Then he broke his hand, so he had the cast around it over the past couple games. I don't think he's been playing as well. I think it was better against the Lions than it was against the Green Bay Packers, but we'll see how a little bit more healing time does for him in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go to a roster update. I've wanted to do this for a little bit, for a little while now. We can go through this position by position. Close the comment section here really quickly. Thank you to all of you who have contributed your comments so far. But the 49ers roster update is something that we do need to get to. I think I need to make a text title for it as well. Welcome to our 1000th live concurrent viewer. That's exciting for a standard Tuesday night right here at Happy Hour. Big crowd on the show. Media party tonight. My friend Joe's going to be in town as well. Not for the Super Bowl. Probably meet up with him, though. He's flying in from London. That's kind of cool. And we're taking a look at the 49ers roster. So I haven't updated this in a while. I could take the injury tag off of Deebo Samuel. Purdy, Darnold, Brandon Allen at quarterback. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's good to go. Running back, everybody healthy here as well. Stocked room for the 49ers. McCaffrey, Kittle, Mason, Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback. They can flex Ty Davis Price if they end up needing to, but it doesn't look like they will at that running back position because everybody else locked, loaded, should be ready to go. Receiver, Ayuk, Samuel, Jennings, Ronnie Bell, Ray McLeod, Chris Conley. Other potential options, Willie Snead, the fourth on the practice squad, Tay Martin over there on the practice squad. Danny Gray has reverted to season-ending IR because they did not activate him from injured reserve after they opened his practice window. Tight end, Kittle, Willis, Werner. Your practice squad body is Jake Tungus. He's not going to play because all the tight ends are healthy. Offensive line, Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Brendel, Feliciano, McKivitz. I mean, this is remarkable, just as I go through this, how healthy the 49ers are this season. I mean, you right now, at this point of the year, to have this much health, it is wealth for the San Francisco 49ers. As far as backup plans along the offensive line, you have Jalen Moore as at least your backup left tackle. Matt Pryor still on the roster. He could be your backup right tackle. Remember, they're going to be starting John Feliciano at right guard. They have been here over the playoffs. And Feliciano is going to be facing Chris Jones, the biggest threat on that Kansas City defensive line, more often than anybody else. Jones lines up primarily against right guard. So that's John Feliciano. It's a move that maybe the 49ers made. Feliciano has been so good at run blocking this year, even in spot duty, even while he's filling in before. But, one could argue that the 49ers made that move to John Feliciano into the starting spot over Spencer Burford with a team like the Chiefs in mind. The Chiefs have a subpar defensive line outside of Chris Jones. Chris Jones, though, is an A-plus player. And he individually can wreck games. You don't need more than Chris Jones as far as being a plus player to absolutely wreck football games. And if he lines up over right guard most of the time, you could be toast against the Chiefs if you don't have a solid one. One difference between these 49ers and the team that lost to Kansas City 4 years ago is that I don't think that right guard is the 49ers' weak point anymore. 4 years ago it was, with Mike Person playing that right guard position. I think he was hurt in the Super Bowl as well. This 49ers team has Feliciano there playing really, really good football. And I think the weak links of the line are probably at center and right tackle with Jake Brendel and Colton McKivitz. For that, you've got depth in Ben Barch, although I don't think, Ben Barch is a player who came over from Jacksonville. I think obviously Jake Brendel is the 49ers' experienced fixture at the center position, but I don't think that his pass protection has been great, especially down the stretch this year. And then you have Colton McKivitz being the 49ers' other weaker point up front. Do not be surprised if Chris Jones moves from his defensive tackle spot to a right defense or a left defensive end spot facing right tackle to give Colton McKivitz a big test. Chris Jones did that with success last season when the Chiefs beat the 49ers at Levi's Stadium. Defensively, Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave, Chase Young, Randy Gregory, Kinlaw, Givens, Robert Beal, the rookie, Sebastian Joseph Day, who hasn't been playing all that much. We talked about him as a run stopper when the 49ers signed him. He was coming from a different background, a different system. So there might still be an acclimatization period for Sebastian Joseph Day, but he's on that 53-man roster. Potential call-up candidates are Alex Barrett, T.Y. McGill, Spencer Wagee, and Sam. Okay, it's really tough to pronounce his last name. We'll just call him Sam O. Developmental defensive end project for the 49ers. They also brought Austin Bryant back, veteran who was with them early in the season. The linebackers are some of the best in the league, Warner, Greenlaw, Burks, Winters, and Graham, two rookies behind them. Flanagan Foles, though, is higher up on the pecking order. He is a veteran who's delivered a lot of big special teams moments. Then you look at the secondary, Charvarius Ward playing some of his best football. Ambry Thomas not playing his best football, but I think it should be better. A week further removed from the hand surgery. He's going to have basically a month in between hand surgery and the game by the time the Super Bowl rolls around. Diamara Lenore, we've talked a lot about. Logan Ryan, I have him listed as the starting safety, but I think that we can shift Jair Brown back in there on this depth chart. There you go. And we could put Logan Ryan as number 2. I think that Ryan just makes a whole lot more sense coming off the bench as a pinch hitter since he's so much more versatile than somebody like Jair Brown. Then Tashawn Gibson, he have 33 career interceptions, and George Odom, the specialist. That is a one good-looking 49ers roster. You even got Ray McLeod back on this team after missing some time with injury. So that's your roster check-in. How does it match up with what Kansas City brings to the table? We shall see on Sunday. That's the big question. It's going to be a fascinating one. The Chiefs are good. I don't think they're as good as the 49ers. They've got a worse defensive line. Outside of Chris Jones, they haven't developed that much pressure. Their coverage over rush, but they're number 27 against the run. The 49ers should have an opportunity to control game flow on Sunday. And on the other side of the football, well, Mahomes is Mahomes. But that's still the 24th most explosive pass offense in the NFL this season. It hasn't been great. It has not been great as far as explosiveness goes. The 49ers do need to make sure that their run defense is on par, though, because Kansas City can run the ball with Isaiah Pacheco, and they can make you forget really quickly about or make you remember a lot, too much that you want to remember about how bad your run defense is if you don't play it well. All right, that's the 49ers update, 49ers Intel. I'm off to the media party. Hope you enjoyed. Much more content coming very soon. Like and subscribe. We're on our way to 66,000.